Welcome back to this Kickstarter preview video for a brand new game. Actually, it's a great design coming back with more goodness, called Volfyirion Guilds. Volfyirion Guilds is a new game based on the success of Volfyirion card game, building up with more mechanics and more card types and more different gameplay elements inserted into the playstyle in order to present and provide an even enhanced and a more interesting gameplay experience. So I'm going to describe the game, how it plays in this preview video, as if you don't know anything about Volfyirion. You don't have to know anything about Volfyirion itself. Volfyirion essentially is a fast-paced deck building game with a lot of strategic options, with a lot of replay value, with a lot of tactical gameplay, with a lot of easy rules but lots of depth. And essentially it's a standalone expansion. It plays on its own, but also it can be combined with Volfyirion original game in order to create more possibilities and blend the cards together for more options. It brings nice ideas to the game with cool aspects like the new Vol card, which gives you the possibility to save cards for future play, or the agents, which give the possibility to, let's say, lock a card in order to be able to get it down the road when in the next one of the next turns, essentially. Cool aspect that I'm going to explain all into the next minutes following this intro video. But basically, what is the most important for you to see is that if you want to find a different and unique deck builder, which offers and draws actually inspiration from a very, very unique and fresh universe, that's Mythia universe, I think this is a game that you should check out and definitely give it a try. So I had a blast playing the first original game. I had also presented it here in the channel, and I'm going to include a description link for the YouTube video if you want to check it out. I'm also going to include a different video to show you the components of the big box prototype that they sent to me. Essentially, as far as I understand, they're going to provide a lot of pledge options for someone to be able to just pick up a basic pledge with just a card game with no miniatures and no added extra tokens or add-ons or whatever, and that's enough for you to have a blast with the game. But if someone wants to have a more visually appealing box with the dragon miniature, with more tokens, more add-ons and playmats, those gorgeous playmats you're going to see in a couple of minutes are amazing. They can also boost their pledge and get a bigger box with more things and more goodies to store in the Volfyirion pledge that they wish to decide to take. So I'm going to include various links in the description, the Kickstarter campaign being one of the main and the first one that you definitely need to check out, the additional links to the videos that I mentioned so that you can check it out. But regardless of the links and regardless of all the information that you're going to see now, it's a game that I really can get behind. I love playing Volfyirion. It's a fast-paced, back and forth, real strategic game, exceptionally well done for two players, well tested and enhanced, may I say, even more with the new mechanics. I really love the new mechanics, and I'm going to come back to the end of this video with some more ideas and opinion on these new additions to the core system, because having played the original one, I have a strong positive impression for the new things that they added. But even if you don't know Volfyirion at all, I think it's something that you should definitely check it out. It's very simple to get, very fast-paced, plays in 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, extremely easy rule set. I'm going to go through everything into detail so that you can skip the rulebook essentially, but you can also play it as a solo. The new Volfyirion Guilds offers, I believe, a new renewed solo, which I'm going to try afterwards as well, fighting the Mythia monsters, and that makes it more interesting on my radar, to be honest. But that's definitely a deck builder that I keep coming back and back, and I will be coming back for more with the new version that can be combined with the original. So that's from me. Let me show you how the game plays, go through all the rules so that you can understand what Volfyirion Guild is, and I'm going to highlight throughout this video all the new goodness that is being added through this campaign, to this standalone expansion. And I will come back at the end of this video, as we always do, for some final quick thoughts and first impressions about our first sessions that we had with Volfyirion. Spoiler, we really enjoyed. So join me at the table and I'll show you how the game works. Let's see how Volfyirion Guilds plays. This is a standalone expansion, and this is a game that plays very fast, around 15 to 30 minutes, and is intended for 2 players, while it offers a great solo as well. Where we are theme-wise. After the extraordinary accomplishment of taming the dragon Volfyirion, the rising of Volaris' house was immediate. Fearing that Volaris could quickly overthrow his authority, the king empowered other guilds, and as a result 5 strong guilds emerged, each one with its specific role within society. Varonin, the Guild of Merchants, Luzma, the Guild of Faith, Katur, the Guild of Soldiers, Magista, the Guild of Scholars, and the Volaris, identified as the Guild of Nobility. The kingdom's delicate balance inexorably wavered, the seeds of discord crept, and the desire of supremacy prevailed. Here, the unrestrainable lust for power escalates into a fight, a bitter end, a fight in which cities are the inevitable targets. Lead your guild and annihilate your enemies' cities in this never-ending war. So welcome back to Volfyirion, and this time we have this standalone expansion, Volfyirion Guilds, with more gameplay, more mechanics, and more magnificent and gorgeous artwork as well. So the game overview is very simple. In Volfyirion Guilds, each player represents one of the guilds of Mystia. The goal is straightforward. What you're trying to do is you're trying to defeat the other players' cities. You need to do that, you need to destroy their cities and win the game. This is done by playing cards to gain points, which can be spent to deploy strategic assets and to attack as well. Players gain resources and take actions by playing cards from their personal decks, which are upgraded with additional cards and enriched with more possibilities and more options down the road. How you win? Very simple. A player immediately wins a game after destroying all enemy cities. And you can see in front of you that each player is sitting opposite the other, and each player is controlling 3 cities. One with strength of 8, one with strength of 9, and one with strength of 10. And the same goes for the opponent sitting across. So let's go through the game setup. Just as a note, I'm going to explain Volfyirion Guilds as if no one has ever played Volfyirion, the original game, before, so you'll know all the rules you need in order to set up and start playing the game. And of course I'm going to try to highlight down the road all the extra goodness arising from the addition of the new standalone expansion, Volfyirion Guilds. So this can be played on its own. This is the box of the Volfyirion Guilds. I think this is going to be offered as an entry pledge. And then of course you can also get the original Volfyirion card game, which is this one, and all this is going to be discovered from the Kickstarter page of the campaign, but also the big box, which we have already shown on a separate video. I'm going to include a link in the description below so that you can go and check out all the goodness that comes into this big box and all the extra options. So back to game setup. Players sit across from each other, and the player's deck is called the house deck. At the start of the game, it is composed by 10 command cards. You have 8 prospectors, which are these cards here. Let me show you one of them up close so that you can see how a prospector looks like. This is a simple card. This is one of your basic cards. You start with 8 of them, and they provide 1 command point, as you'll see here. You also have one diviner, which is this one. The diviner offers 1 command point and in addition 3 knowledge points, which are with this symbol on the right. And the last card that you get in your 10 starting cards is your captain. Your captain, of course, offers 1 command point, the one on the left, and has, in addition to that, some strength, which can be used in order to combat. So you see, this is your last and at the moment most powerful card in your basic card. So what you do, both players actually, they shuffle their own house deck, and then they place it in front of themselves in order to create their starting hand. So I'm going to take my 8 prospectors, my diviner, and my captain, use those 10 cards to shuffle them, and create my starting house deck. Keep in mind, throughout the game, this is going to be fine-tuned according to your designs and your gameplay. You're going to pick up a much more powerful cards, like in most of those, the deck builders themselves, but they're going to be some more cool aspects arising from the base mechanics of Volfyirion, but also from the additional mechanics from Volfyirion Guilds. So this is your house deck, your drawing pile essentially. You put it here on your right or up close, wherever it feels more comfortable, and then you need to leave some space below for your discard pile. Like most of the deck builders, when you need to draw cards for your hand and you don't have enough to fill up your hand size, then you will take your discard pile, reshuffle it, and keep drawing cards until you have your hand up to its normal size, which is 5. Next, you're going to prepare your main deck, your main drawing deck, the assets card, which is this one laid here. What you're going to find essentially in this main deck are basically troop cards, which have this icon over here on the top left. The iconography in the game is very straightforward. You also have your buildings, which have this icon on the top left, like this one. You have, of course, your agents, which is something new in Volfyirion Guilds, and it's a very cool mechanic, and they have this icon over there. And then you have your command cards, your normal command cards, which have this icon over there. So these are the different type of cards that you'll find together with your wonders. We're going to come back to those. You're going to shuffle all those cards together, create a drawing pile, which is this one, and then from that one you're going to open face up 5 of those cards from this asset deck, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in order to create the asset market or the asset display. The next thing that you do is you place the Volfyirion Lairs card face up. Actually, this is this card over here. This is the Volfyirion Lair card. Volfyirion is our dragon, our mighty dragon, the beast that we need to tame in order to use it in order to attack the cities of the opponent and win the game, hopefully. So it has 2 slots for 2 wonder cards. We'll come back to this, and some iconography. You find some details also there, and this is the side for 2 players. You can see it from this icon over there. You also have a different side for 4 players on the opposite. So I'm going to set up for 2 players, and then what I'm going to do as a next step is I'm going to create an area for Volfyrion's lair over there, together with the wonders deck over there. Speaking of wonders, these are the wonder cards. They have this icon that you can see here. This is an example of one of those wonder cards. And we need to take all these wonder cards, shuffle them on a separate deck, which is over here, to create the wonder deck, and draw 2 cards to place on the 2 slots of Volfyrion's lair. Speaking of Volfyirion, let's have a close look at Volfyirion. In the basic card game, it comes with this nice and very well crafted, I may add, wooden token for the Volfyirion dragon. But what I want to really show you up close is someone can pick up this, and I'm sure it's going to be offered in the new Kickstarter as well. This is a 120mm dragon miniature. It's this beast over here. It's one of the best dragon minis in my opinion, at this size, at this scale. What you have seen falling off, because I moved it very fast, is actually the shards, because this miniature can be used besides of Volfyirion card game system and Volfyirion Guilds essentially, can be used in other games in the Mystia universe, and there are rules included in order to describe how you do that. But how cool is that really? This is a gorgeous looking miniature. Yeah, this is our beast. So place the Volfyirion miniature or token close by next to its lair, and this is going to be its starting point. The Volfyirion dragon is going to start over there, and hopefully with some clever card play you'll be able to bring it on some of the cities of the opponent in order to try to destroy them and hopefully win the game. Now I've done this on purpose because I want to highlight that the 2 cards that the 2 wonder cards that you need to draw and have as a starting setup laying at Volfyrion's lair need to be of no more than 3 battle points. So this is the crystal seed, which you can see it has 3 battle points, but this one is a bit higher. This is 4, so we need to take a new one This is 2, that's fine. And we can leave it there. They need to be not more than 3, and that's a legit setup. So this is going to be reshuffled in the Wonders deck card. Each player has 1 Vault card. You can see the icon for the Vault card, and this is another new mechanic of the game, and actually a very cool one in my opinion. So this is a Vault icon. It's the art is going to be in Reach, of course. This is a work in progress. Keep in mind this is a prototype, of course. It looks gorgeous, but it's a prototype indeed. Some of the art is already finished, but there is a lot of work already being continued for Volfyirion Guilds. Each player is going to take 1 Guild Vault card with this icon. It's the same for both players, and they're going to keep it next to their city's area. You see, I have mine over there, and my opponent is using this Guild Vault card over there. It has a slot in order to facilitate saving or keeping a card for future use, and we'll come back to this when we explain the game later on. But besides that, you'll see that you have also your starting cities that you see here, one of strength 8, one of strength or defense 9, and one of strength or defense 10, with 2 slots each. I don't know if you can see up close. You have 2 slots on each of your city cards, one of them for facilitating and holding 1 troops card, and one for holding 1 building card. So each of the cities can have 1 troop card and 1 building card, and those provide defense, additional defense, for make it really tough for your opponent to siege them and destroy them. And this building slot creates opportunity to install a building and be able to use its ongoing effects and additional abilities. You also see that I have 2 gorgeous playmats over there, one here and one over there. This looks like the cover on the Volfyirion Guilds box, and this is also a gorgeous one. I don't know if you can see the art. The art is amazing on this game, very unique, very different, and very vivid in my opinion. So the way you need to set up the game is have your Guild Vault here, have your 3 cities over there with potential space below for 2 cards on each of those, your house deck draw pile here, your discard pile over here. This is going to be your play area. The same goes for your opponent. And what's new in this expansion, it's really nice. You have some very cool wooden tokens that you see here. I already put some there, and over there for the opponent, in order to use them temporarily when you play your cards, to remember how many command points, battle points and knowledge points you have to spend during your turn, because these are not accumulating from turn to turn. You cannot pass them to your next turn in order to play the game. And it may seem trivial at the beginning, but you may have you know, only few to remember, because you play some cards and then you see you have a couple of battle points, a couple of command points and a couple of knowledge points. But as you progress in the game and you pick up more and more strong cards down the road, then you're going to have some larger numbers, and you need to remember also the additional effects that provide you more command points and more battle points from the buildings and wonders, etc. So these are very useful because you can use them to keep a track temporarily how many command points you have generated. I'm guessing this is going to be some kind of add-on. I hope it's going to be some kind of add-on. And I can concur that this is a really valuable add-on, because it will help you a lot and make your gameplay even faster, to use it in order to keep a quick track on what you have on each of those different icons. Your income, your resource management actually, because all these different, all this is some resource that you need to expend carefully in order to have an impact on your turn. A last quick note, but very important, keep in mind that in Volfyirion, the same goes for Volfyirion Guilds, discard and remove are 2 different operations. Removed cards leave the game and are returned back into the box, while discard means that it goes in your discard pile, and when you're going to finish your house deck and need to draw more cards, you're going to reshuffle it and create a new drawing deck for you to draw cards. So there you have it. This is your startup for Volfyirion Guilds and Volfyirion essentially, with the exception of the guild vault, at least from a setup point of view initially, and the additional tokens, and you're ready to start. Now, I'm going to lay some cards over here and come to explain some of the key aspects of the game. Keep in mind that the main driving motor of Volfyirion and Volfyirion Guilds are the cards themselves. The cards are command cards, battle cards, and cards producing knowledge points. So you have command, battle, and knowledge points being produced by the cards themselves as they're being played by players. Cards in the game provide free resources that can be used in multiple ways. You have the command points, these ones, that they also find on the various cards themselves. This is an example. You can see here, this is a command card. This is a command point, sorry, this is actually a wonder card. But this is the icon for the command point that you are trying to generate, and you also have your tokens, okay? So, the first thing are the command points that the players are using in order to acquire cards from the assets row over there and get more powerful cards, to redeploy troops between different cities, so redeploy from one city to the other because maybe needs more help, or maybe you're trying to do different things with your strategy. And players can gain command points by playing command cards or through in-play cards such as building cards and wonder cards, where you have them already installed. Keep in mind, when you play cards, you play them there, they have their effect and they produce the resources for your turn, but when you have buildings, troops, and wonders already played in play, they're not being discarded when you finish your turn. They continuously produce and provide their, let's say, command points, battle points, and knowledge points for your turn in order to add them to what you generate from your card play over there. The next thing that we have are the battle points, the ones in the red icon. This is this one. It has a sword in a red circle. So again, they both show one. This is one battle point, and battle points are used in order to acquire wonder cards from the Volfyrion's lair over there, down there. You need to spend battle points in order to acquire wonder cards. Of course, you need to use battle points in order to attack your opponent's cities, and this is the main goal of the game, in order to defeat all three of them and win. And you can gain battle points by playing command cards or through in-play cards like before, such as building, troop cards, and wonder cards themselves. Okay, so this is the second resource of the game, and the third, and also important, more important with careful play, similarly important actually, icon are the knowledge points, which you can see here in the purple crystal over there. So these are used in order to seal or unseal wonder cards in both playing areas, both yourself and your opponent. You can use them to replace a card in the asset row with a new one and have the possibility to draw something better and acquire something better. And you can use it in order, and most importantly, you can use it in order to move Volfyirion, yeah, the nasty dragon over there, manipulate the dragon and move the token or the mini, if you have the mini, from the lair card to an enemy city or from on your own city back to the lair. What you're trying to do essentially is you play knowledge cards, combination of accumulation of knowledge cards, in order to be able to use it and bring it on your opponent's city. If your opponent cannot react on their next turn and move it back to the lair, then their city is going to be destroyed by removing in addition all the troops, both the troops and the building that it's installed on the card, and being closer to defeat because one of your three cities is being destroyed. Knowledge points again are very important, and players gain knowledge points similarly like before through in cards that you play during your turn or from cards that are already played on your turn from previous turns, and they contribute by knowledge points. Such cards are building cards, troop cards, and wonder cards again, similarly like with the other two resources. So there you have it. These are the basic resources of the game. Now, Let's have a closer look on the command building troop and agent cards. Keep in mind the agent cards is something new. We didn't have agent cards before. This is something relatively new in the Volfyirion Guilds, and it's a great new mechanic that we'll explain later. But let's see the anatomy of the cards for the moment. So the card types that you find in the asset row, the main deck of the game essentially, are command cards from left to right. You see this is a command card icon. Building cards, which have the building icon over there. Troop cards, we have the troop icon. And last but not least, the new card type, the agent cards, which have this icon over there. The anatomy of the card is very simple. All of them, they have the name in the banner, the title, which you can see here. They also have the type of card, as I have already explained, in the circle on the top left of each card, explained with the categories I just described. And then you have the command point cost in order to acquire them. This one costs 1, this one costs 5, 3 and 4 on the top right circle. You also have in some cases an acquiring ability like this one over here below the acquiring cost, which is triggered once you acquire those cards, not when you draw them from your pile, but when you acquire them from the asset row. All the cards have the main ability, as you can see, and this is the top row. This main ability provides 1 command point and 1 battle point, for example. This main ability provides 3 defense, yeah, it's a troop, etc. And they also have, some of them, a secondary ability. This card has only a main ability because it's 1 row only. But if it has a second row like this one or that one or this one, you'll see that this is a secondary ability which also can be applied if the condition is met. And we're going to come back to explain those, but you can see by quick that you get with the Assassin Guild, if you play it in your play area, you get 1 command point, 1 battle point, and you also get, in addition, if you have in play a card with this banner, not the one bearing this secondary ability, even if it was a TL1, needs to be a separate one, then it provides an additional battle point and 1 knowledge point as well. So you see that it makes sense in order for you to combine your card play. If you have secondary abilities, that makes sense, and you have those cards in play. This is a great example of this one. When a card is acquired, its acquiring ability is activated, and it either grants you points or triggers the effect depicted. Like this case, you can not discard, you can remove 1 card completely, and the reason you may think, why do I need to remove a card, is because you want to thin your deck in order to have the good cards that you acquired coming faster when you draw them through cycling your deck essentially. And command and building cards grant you points via their main ability. In some cases the main ability can also grant additional effects. The majority of the cards have the secondary ability as I just described, and whenever you play a building card, you need to choose a relative slot in a city. We're going to show you how this looks later on, in order to install the building on that said city. If there is already another building card on the building slot, the previous placed building card is removed from the game and replaced by the new one. Similarly, when you play a troop card, you need to choose the relative slot in the city that you need to place the card. So you send the troop to a city essentially. That's the bottom left of slot of each city card. And if there is already another troop card in the troop slot, the previously placed troop card is removed from the game and replaced by the new one. So you need to think carefully, because they offer their abilities, but if you want for some reason to change or do something, if you want to play a card there, you need to discard, remove from the game the previous position card. The last thing that I want to mention are the banners. The banner on the top upper left corner represents the color of the minor house. The gray banners that they can be seen here below the type of the card, you see gray banner, are considered to be neutral, but then again you have the red banner, the purple banner, and that's the one that you don't see in your screen because that's a new card, the teal. So these are the 3 colors, plus the first one, which is the gray one, and it's the neutral one. So that's these are the banners in play. And just to quickly show you, this is one of my cities. It has a slot on the top, on the bottom left for a troop, and on the bottom right for a building. So a building can go and click here on the slot and provide the ongoing effect and additional income, essentially in command points and battle points in my play, together with the cards that I'm going to be playing. And of course you can also have a troop here on the troop slot, and the reason that you want to have troops there is because a troop card adds its defense to the defense value of the city where it's placed. So you see the city has a defense of 9 plus the defense 3 that will give it a defense of 12, and it has an additional layer of importance that is going to be clear later on. When you are attacking your opponent, if someone is attacking me, then they need to reach 9 plus 3, 12, and what happens is then the troop is being removed, but the city still stands a chance and doesn't fall. That means if in my turn I can play another troop there, I can still keep having more and more opportunities to keep the city under my control and without it being demolished, essentially. Keep in mind, if I lose all 3 of my cities, then I'm done. Another important aspect of the game, as we said, and it's new to Volfyirion Guilds, are the agent cards. The agent cards have this icon over here. I'm just putting it on the side so that you can see one such card. This is an agent card, and the agent cards grant an alternative way to acquire cards without spending command points. We'll see how this works. You play an agent card, you need to choose the card in the asset row that it goes on top of it, and that means that the agent has locked, let's say, this card, and that will be yours to pick up at the next turn that you get to play after your opponent, if the agent is still standing there, if it hasn't been defeated by an opponent. That means that it will give you the card that's on top without you having to spend command points. And this is a brilliant new mechanic, because it puts the pressure on your opponent that you see a nice card that you want to, let's say, lock and be able to get it for your next turn because you didn't get the icons now or whatever, you want to spend it on something different, the resources. You put the agent card on top of the asset card from the asset row that you want to take into your hand, and then your opponent plays. If they are not able to defeat your agent, when your next turn comes, you're going to pick up the agent, discard it, and then take the asset, a card that it was on top of, right into your hand, ready to be played. How cool mechanic is this one? Next, what I want to show you are the wonder cards. We had the wonder cards in the original Volfyirion, so this is not a new mechanic, but this is a great mechanic from the base game. You can see that wonder cards do not have house colors. Whenever you acquire a wonder card, you may immediately remove another card from your discard pile, from your hand. No points will be granted from it, or from your playing area, after having gained the card points, of course. And this is indicated by the acquiring bonus that I mentioned before. You see it has an acquiring bonus that you can discard the card. And you need to do discard cards because you need to thin your deck, essentially. Especially those prospectors at the beginning. They may seem nice when you start and you don't have any command points, but you see when you start acquiring more and more powerful cards, they're just blocking your hand, and they're going to give you some poor turns if you don't get them out fast. Now, this is the anatomy of the wonder card. You see the icon is on top left, like with the rest of the cards. You have the card name in this title on top. You have the battle point cost that you need in order to acquire it. Keep in mind that you acquire cards from Volfyrion's lair by expending battle points. And then you have, like the rest of the cards, the main ability on the top row and the secondary ability on the bottom row, respectively. Just again, to show for a quick reminder for the cities. The city has its name, it has the defense value, it has a type. You can see that this city is standing, but if it is destroyed, it is flipped on the opposite side. There are no slots for the card to hold troops and buildings, and you see that the city is broken. There is a variant where you get one chance to, if you spend all these points, to reflip it, but this is just a variant. On the normal game, you don't get to flip it unless you're playing with a variant, and that means that one of your 3 cities is destroyed, and as I mentioned many times, if you have all 3 of your cities being destroyed, then you lose the game. Hopefully you want to be the one destroying cities, not having your cities being destroyed. The new card that we have here, and I want to mention, and it's on the left side of your 3 cards, is your Guild Vault card. Each player gets one of those. The art here is not finalized, so it's going to be gorgeous like the rest of the cards. So you have again your card name over here. You have, this is a Vault card, the icon. Then you have a slot that you can see here. This is the first ability actually, the command slot. This is a great new mechanic and a great new addition to the Volfyirion card system, because what it really does is you can decide to play one card on this slot and save it from turn to turn. So on one of your subsequent turns you may decide to pick it up in your hand and be able to make a combo, a boost or something, especially when you need a high number of battle points or command points and knowledge points. And this is the first ability of the Guild Vault. It has a slot for you to use. This slot shows that you can save, this is a command slot, and you can save one card there. You also have a secondary ability, which is here, and it shows 2 city icons. That means that basically the game is making, let's say, giving a fighting chance for the people who are being battered. If one of your cities is being destroyed, that means you, instead of 3, you have 2. When this happens, this secondary ability is activated for you only. That means that this is a catch-up mechanism, and this is a great addition. If your opponent is kicking down your cities, then if you lost your first city, this additional ability becomes available to you. That means that you can spend 4 command points. You can convert command points essentially to either battle points or knowledge points, together with the rest of your play. And this is the third ability. When you're only left with 1 city, because 2 of them are being destroyed, then you get an additional 1 battle point, an additional 1 knowledge point. And keep in mind that all 3 abilities, 1, 2 and 3, are accumulative. That means that if you're only left with 1 city, you can both have the command slot, you can both have this conversion ratio, and you can also have this contribution to your resources as well. How cool is that? By the way, you can see that this is the Volfyirion Guild icon, and all the cards that are from the expansion, they have this on the bottom left of their cards. And that is for you to separate those cards from the original game. Of course, you can use mix and match. You can use only Volfyirion Guild cards to play the game. You can use mix and match them with the original ones, and there are different possibilities for doing so as well. So back to this. This is how the anatomy of the Vault cards is broken down. And now that I have explained the Vault card to you, you can understand that together with the agents are 2 magnificent mechanical additions that add so much more gameplay to the game, and so more strategic gameplay, in my opinion. Now let's move to in-play cards. The majority of command cards you play are usually in the discard pile by the end of a turn. Some cards though are not discarded, like Building, Troops and Wonders. The Vault and Agent cards remain in play and contribute to providing you their abilities. In particular, Building, Troop and Wonder cards grant you their main ability points during each of your turn's main phase, as long as they are not destroyed or sealed. And the secondary abilities do also benefit you from the same rule, and if the requirements are met, they may be triggered every turn that you play. Vault cards grant abilities depending on their own standing cities, meaning that if you lost some more cities, additional abilities are being activated for you. As long as an agent card is on an asset card, and the way this is done is, of course, you have one of the agents partially covering one of the asset cards, like that. This is what the agents are doing. That means that the asset card cannot be replaced nor acquired by another player unless they first destroy the agent who is guarding it. So let's move to how you play the game. Only at the beginning of the game, the first player draws 5 cards and the second player draws 6 cards. Afterwards, each player will draw 5 cards during their draw phase. And only at the beginning of the game, a player may decide to shuffle their starting hand back into their house deck and then draw 5 new cards to replace their starting hand if they didn't like what they drew. The player who most recently seen a dragon, real or fictional, goes first. Each player's turn has 4 phases. When those 4 phases are completed, the other player may take their turn. The phases are number 1, beginning of a turn phase, number 2, main phase, number 3, the end of a turn phase, and number 4, the draw phase. So a couple of words for each of those, and then you're ready to start playing Volfyirion Guilds. Phase number 1. So during my turn, I will go through through all 4 of those phases, and then it will be my opponent. This is going to be back and forth until the winning condition is met, which means that you destroy all of your opponent's cities. Beginning of a turn, phase number 1. At the beginning of a turn phase, you may choose to retrieve the card stored in your vault, if you have any, and put it in your hand. So this is a phase where you say, this one that I have saved from previous turns on my guild vault card, I take it into my hand. And that will give me the possibility to play my turn with more than 5 cards, essentially 6, with the one already being used from the vault, the guild vault. You cannot replace it with a new one during the same turn, meaning that I cannot pick one now and replace it with another one during my next phase. You need to do it during your next turn and your next turn's main phase. If you have only one city in play, the vault card grants you 1 battle point and 1 knowledge point, and this is shown here because it's your last stand, and the game is boosting you with some catch-up mechanism in order to fight back and have a fighting chances as well. If a known agent card is on an ascent card, for example, if you had, let's say, something like that, okay, maybe I'm not going to put an agent on an agent, but anyway, yeah, it doesn't matter. This is a card that I knew I wanted to pick up. So if I had one of an agent on another asset card, that means that if an owned agent card is on an asset card and the agent's defense value is equal or higher than the cost of the card underneath, you can take the card. You do this without paying any cost, and you put it right into your hand without discarding it first. Then you can put your agent card in your discard pile or remove it from the game. Otherwise, you put your agent card back into your hand. So this is very important because this gives you the ability to be able to lock a card and be able to buy it on a subsequent turn, because that way you don't have to spend command points. And the rule again is that if an owned agent card on an asset card and the agent's defense value is equal or higher than the cost of the card underneath, you can take the card. So let's move now to the main phase. That was the beginning of your turn phase, phase number 1, where you decide if you want to pick up your agent and get the card, or pick up this card that you have saved if you have any from your guild vault. First you do that, and then you do the next one. Then we move to our main phase, phase number 2. During the main phase, you may perform any number of actions in any order, as many times as you like, of course, if you have what it needs to be done in order to play cards, essentially. I'm going to briefly list all these options, and I'm going to come back to them with just a couple of thoughts. The options are: you can play an agent card, you can play a card from your hand, you can gain points from a card, you can use command points to acquire an asset card, you can use command points to redeploy a troop, you can use battle points to attack a city, you can use battle points to attack an agent card, you can use battle points to acquire a wonder card from Volfyrion's Lair, you can use knowledge points to replace a card in the asset row, you can use knowledge points to move Volfyirion, our huge nice mini of Volfyirion, and you can activate a card's secondary ability, you can activate the vault secondary ability, and you can store a command card in your vault from your hand as long as you didn't have one picked up in the same turn. As a special action, once per game, one of the players may be able to use battle points to defeat Volfyirion himself or herself, I don't know the genre. Now, let's have a couple of words about all the actions and go briefly through them. So the first option, you can play an agent card, and you can do this many times if you have many agent cards to play. As mentioned before, this is very simple, playing an agent card. The prerequisite is that if a non-agent card is on an asset card and from a previous round, and you have the defense higher than the actual cost of the card underneath. So here, the way, just to explain it further, so my strategy would be to play agent cards with a defense value, which is here. You see this is a defense value of 6, higher or equal than the acquiring cost in command points of the card. Then that means that I will be able to buy. That's why you see the agent have a high defense value, because if this is equal or higher than the card beneath, then you'll be able to acquire it in the previous phase. Now, during the main phase, how do you do that in order to prep for the next turns, in order to have one of these cards without paying any cost? Simply, you take one of your agent cards and you place it on one of the cards you want to acquire. This is actually defense 6, so it makes sense. I can pick up any of those if I choose so. So I choose my asset card according to my strategy, and I place my agent card on top of the card as indicated in front of you. Another thing you can do in your turn is you can play a card from your hand, or you can play many cards from your hand. Playing a card means you put it down in your playing area, which is above your cities, as you see here. Here I have played 5 cards, just as an example. This is a core mechanic of the game and has no cost. Unplayed cards at the end of your turn are discarded to your discard pile over here. So you need to make the best out of the command points, the knowledge points and the battle points and the abilities by playing cards in your playing area. Another thing you can do in your turn is you can gain points from a card. You gain as many command points, battle points and knowledge points as depicted by the card's main ability. You can gain points only from cards in your playing area or in your cities area. These are my cities and this is my playing area. You may still gain points from cards that are about to leave or either playing or a city's area, regardless of them being either discarded or removed from the game. You gain points from a card ability only once per turn. And you can play cards one at a time to trigger specific effects in a precise order. For example, you can play a card that triggers a building secondary ability, then gain all bonuses from both cards, then put in play a new building, removing the old one, and while doing so, and then gain bonuses from the new building itself. Another thing that you can do during your turn is you can acquire an asset card. So I'm not describing the case where you have an agent. I'm talking about the case, because this is in the previous phase, I'm talking about the phase that I want to buy with command points any of the remaining, if any, assets from the asset row. To acquire an asset card from the asset row, you must pay the amount of command points depicted on the card's cost icon. This is a white circle on the top right section of each card. The newly acquired card immediately is moved to the discard pile. So for example, when I produce some command points, and here where these nice tokens come, because when I play cards I know that I have produced, for example, a specific, let's say, pool of resources. Okay, so for this example, I have created 5 command points. That's why I can use those for me to remember. Forget about these cards. I'm talking about if I only had this in play, so forget about the displayed ones. So I have provided, produced 5 command points, 2 battle points from here, and 7 knowledge points. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3, 7. So you see, this is, again, forget about this. This is for demonstration purposes. Imagine I had vacant cities and I only played those 5 cards. These 5 cards provide me with this pool of resources. So I can spend, and coming back to the action itself, I can gain points from cards played, and this is how I gain cards. So when I want to acquire an asset card, I have a pool of created resources, and I'm interested about mainly those, the command points, because this I need to pay in order to acquire one of those cards. So if I want to acquire the intelligence net, it costs 5 command points. As you can see, I take it immediately into my discard pile, and I have already exhausted the 5 command points from my pool. I can use the rest for doing something different. And that's the idea behind acquiring an asset card. Note that if the asset card has an agent card on it from the opponent, of course, or if you didn't choose to take it in the previous turn phase, then it cannot be acquired by buying it with command points. Only during the first turn and before acquiring any card, the player who goes first may freely discard a single card of the asset row to the asset deck discard area. So, for example, what we're going to keep some of on the right side of the asset row. No, it's outside the camera's view, but you can keep a discard pile for the asset deck itself. So going back to the asset cards, the player may discard one of those only during the first turn in order to refill the asset row with a card at from the top of the deck, the drawing deck of the asset cards. The player who goes second may freely discard all cards in the asset row to the asset discard deck, and then refill the asset with even 5 if they want to discard all 5. These 2 steps just giving a balancing tip to the second player, because they start playing second the game. Now, this is how we acquire asset cards, and it's the main way to get all these stronger and stronger cards that they are in the main asset deck and put them into our discard pile, and then when this is reshuffled back into our house deck, we get to draw them and do different things with them, hopefully towards defeating the cities of the opponent and winning the game. Now, another thing I can do on my turn, an additional thing that I can do on my turn, is redeploy a troop card. You may pay the cost of an in-play troop card to reassign it to another one of your cities. So redeploy one troop to another city if I needed to do so. The main way to destroy your opponent's cities, sitting across my play mat, is to attack a city. Attacking a city without a troop card, you must spend battle points equal to the city's defense value. The resolution: the city is destroyed. Then, if a building card is present, remove it from the game. And lastly, flip the city card on the other side to show that it has been destroyed. When attacking a city guarded by a troop card, you must spend battle points equal to the city's defense value plus the station troop defense value, and the resolution: the troop card is removed from the game, but the city is safe. If you have enough battle points, you may attack a city guarded by a troop twice in a row, first to destroy the troop card and then to destroy the city itself while it's unguarded. So for example, you see this city has 9 strength and 9 defense plus 6, 15, because it has a troop. If I want to attack this city, in order to first defeat the troop, I need to attack it with a battle points of 15, and then I remove this card, and then if I attack it again on the same turn, if I have enough battle points, or a subsequent turn with 9 battle points, then I destroy the city and I flip it. That's the way of attacking a city. Another thing you can do is you can attack an agent card. To attack an agent card, you must spend battle points equal to the agent's defense value. If you do so, the agent card is immediately put into the agent's owner's discard pile, and this ability is indicated essentially by the defense here. So if I don't want my opponent to acquire this card for a reason that it will give him a tremendous bonus or give her a great boost, I can attack the agent if I get at least 6 battle points, and then I remove and return the agent to the discard pile of its owner. And then of course, if I have command points to buy the card beneath, I can buy it for myself as well in my same turn. The next thing that I can do is I can acquire a wonder card. To acquire a wonder card, and here's the area on the board, the bottom left portion of the game. This is the Volfyirion lair. It has 2 slots for 2 wonder cards, Volfyirion sitting nearby at the beginning, and this is the draw pile for additional wonder cards. In order to acquire a wonder card from Volfyrion's lair, you must pay the amount of battle points depicted on the wonder card's icon, cost icon, and the newly acquired card is immediately moved to your discard pile. The empty space on the Volfyrion's Lair card is not refilled until the end of the turn phase. The same goes when you acquire asset cards from the asset deck. They stay vacant until the end of your turn. So if I wanted to, for example, acquire this crystal seed, I need to spend 3 battle points, take it directly into my discard pile. I'm not putting it into my play area. They're going to be installed in the play area and left there when I get to play it, once this is reshuffled and drawn from the asset deck, and this stays vacant. It will be refilled at the end of my turn, you'll see. The next thing you can do is you can try to defeat Volfyirion. You may pay 16 battle points to try to defeat Volfyirion itself. If you manage to accomplish this incredible feature, immediately remove Volfyirion token from the game, or Volfyirion miniature if you have it, then gain the wonder, all the wonders on its lair, if any left, and after that, on the lair you get those cards, the wonder cards, and after that you also claim Volfyrion's lair card as a new city. You see, it has a strength of 9. That means it gives you an additional city essentially for the opponent to have to beat in order to win the game. So that's why you may try to defeat Volfyirion, because it gives you one additional city, and that's a tremendous plus. You take the lair and place it in your cities, and owning the lair also provides you 4 battle points during each and every main phase moving forward. And that's reminded by the 4 battle point icon in the middle of the card. Another thing that you can do is you can seal or unseal a wonder card. Going back to the wonder cards, let me draw one to show you. For example, this one. This is a wonder card, and let's say it was in play. You may seal or unseal a wonder card in either playing area, meaning either your area playing area or your opponent playing area, by paying the equivalent of the card's cost in knowledge points, as reminded by the value beneath the wonder icon. It says 3 here. That means if I pay 3 knowledge tokens that I produce during my play, then I can seal or unseal a card. When you seal a card, you rotate it to the side. So this is a seal card, tapped 90 degrees, and this is an unsealed card, tapped actually vertical, it's in normal orientation. You may only unseal cards that are sealed, and you rotate them back in their vertical position to represent this. And all wonders are put into play unsealed, meaning they are already functional. The reason why you want to have your wonders unsealed and your opponent's sealed is when a wonder card is sealed, because your opponent tried to seal it. That means that you cannot use the ability of the card, so you lose all the nice abilities you got to use before. That's why you want to try to unseal it. Another action you can do is you can replace a card in the asset row over there. Let me remove my previous agent. So you may pay 2 knowledge points to replace a card in the asset row with the top card from the asset deck. The discarded card goes into the discard area next to the asset deck, and the new card is immediately available to be acquired. Keep in mind you cannot replace an asset card that has an agent card on it, and you may not fill an empty space of the asset row that was previously emptied by this mechanic. And another interesting way of playing the game is having the top card of the draw pile always face up. That means that you know that if you spend 2 cards to replace 2 knowledge points to replace a card, you know which card is coming to replace another card. And this can be very strategic as well, to have a bit of more insight on what's upcoming into the asset row. One of the most interesting things that you can do is you can move Volfyirion. You pay 8 knowledge points to move Volfyirion token or miniature. So boom, you take your Volfyirion token if you paid 8 knowledge points, and then you get to move the dragon, of course, towards an enemy city. The dragon can only perform 2 kinds of movement: from the Volfyirion lair, that it's here, to an enemy city, so I can send it, for example, here in front of the city, or that city, or that city. Or from one of your own cities, if it was sent already before to one of your cities from an opponent, move it back to its lair. So it doesn't go directly from your side to the opponent or from your opponent to your side, it goes via the lair. So you either send it from the lair to potentially harm, if left there during the next turn, the opponent, and they cannot send it back, or send it back in order to repel the attack. If you have enough points, you may perform both movements in the same turn, meaning you can take it with 8 knowledge points there, and with an additional 8 points, send it in one of your opponent's cities. During your opponent's next end of turn phase, if Volfyirion is not repelled or defeated, meaning still sitting in front of one of the cities, that means that the city of your enemy will be destroyed, and everything will be destroyed on top of it, meaning if they have any building or troops. And this is done at the end of the turn phase. Another thing that you can do is you can activate the card's secondary ability. You've seen that some cards, most of them, have a secondary ability as a second row at the bottom of the card. If you own 2 cities, you can pay 4 command points to gain 1 battle point and 1 knowledge point. You have the synergy chain abilities as well, meaning that some of the cards display a set of icons called the synergy chain. In order to trigger the synergy chain, you need to check if there are other cards which match the color requirements in both your playing cities. Buildings and troops also count. And for example, that's you need to have a teal banner, then you get 1 additional command point. And you can check also your buildings and your troops in your cities to see if this is providing the banner in addition to the rest. But also you can get this banner from another card that you have played in your playing area, but not from the card itself, never from a card itself. The synergy chain is triggered when there's at least, for example here, a turquoise. That was a turquoise, and I always refer to it as a teal. I'm bad with colors, sorry for that. But the synergy chain is triggered when you get at least 1 turquoise card in playing area or in city area, and the player gains 1 command point. It could have different secondary abilities as well. You possibly get to have remove abilities like this one, which is here. Some cards, for instance Wonders and Troops, have a remove ability. During the main phase you may decide to remove such cards from the game completely, but they provide you a strong ability to gain the depicted bonus. You still gain the main ability points before the card gets removed from the game this way, and you may also decide to remove a card from the game just to thin your house deck. But when this card is strong, like these Wonder cards, see, it gives you some pretty cool bonuses as well. Secondary ability effects are listed into the main rulebook, but you can have a variety of those. For example, you can have, let me show you this one. This is a typical one. I need to focus probably. Okay, this is a typical one. This is the draw a card. You draw a card from your house deck and you may play it in this turn. Yeah. You may have, let's see, some of the cards to show you. You may have another type of ability, which is this one. You remove a troop, you choose a troop stationed in an enemy city. That troop is destroyed and its card is removed from the game. You can have the same with the building icon, which means you remove a building and you choose a building in the enemy city, and that building is destroyed and its card is removed from the game. You can have this icon that stands for 4C. If you still have cards in your house deck, draw and check the first one, you see what's upcoming, and then you discard it or put it back at the top if you liked it. You can have this Volfyirion move icon. This is a strong one, as you can see. That means that you get to move Volfyirion. You may immediately perform a move Volfyirion action, and this is a strong card. You can have, of course, the remove a card. This is for removing the card itself, but you can have, this is an unremovable card. That means that the card cannot be removed from the game by any effect that targets the card. That's the one with the building. Remove a building that I mentioned before. This one shows a card and various cards behind it. This is a remove a card. You choose any card from either your playing area, your discard pile, or your hand, and the chosen card is immediately removed from the game. I believe we've seen most of them. This is a sneak. You place the card in the opponent's discard pile. This one, oops, need to focus. So I didn't know if it was focusing. This is a sneak icon I was mentioning before. And this one, which shows this icon, this is the remove a card from the vault. You choose a card from any vault, the card is removed from the game. A diplomat stored in the vault could be removed this way. And I think we've seen most of them. And this is the Wonder Draft. You draw the top card from the Wonder deck, and that describes all of the secondary ability effects. You see that you have a lot of options, and that means that you have a lot of things to try, and combos to try to play and have them enabled during your play. And the last thing that you can do on your turn, together with all the rest, is you can store a command card into your vault by placing a card. You can choose a card to store on one command card. You can only store command cards this way. That's why you have the command icon. So you can choose to store one command card from your hand into your vault only if you haven't already retrieved another command card from it during the same turn. The card doesn't trigger any ability. And keep in mind that the vault can store only one card at a time. So after you have done whatever you wish to do with your turn, then you move to the third phase, which is the end of a turn phase. When you are done performing actions, this is the phase number 3. When you are done performing actions, the end of the turn phase begins. The following steps occur, except from wonders that you may have in play. Any card in your playing area, and the top is my playing area, as you have seen, is discarded to the discard pile. So I'll take all of those and put them in my discard pile. I discard all unplayed cards from my hand if I had any, and if I didn't play them, I also put them into the discard pile. All spent points are lost. If the Volfyirion token is in one of your opponent's cities, like that, you leave it there, which is going to do the damage if it stays there after the end of their opponent's turn. If the Volfyirion token is on one of your cities, like that, in front of one of your cities, then your city is destroyed by the creature's worth. Then you turn face down the city, as mentioned before, and any building or troop on top of the card are removed from the game. Then you move the Volfyirion token back to its lair card here. So this is an important step, because you need to make sure that, of course, the dragon is not waiting to destroy one of your cards, and you need to make arrangements for that not to happen. Then you refill all the empty spaces in the asset row, if any, if you acquired any cards, and in the Volfyrion's lair if you acquired any wonder cards. Finally, you end your turn. Next, and the last fourth phase, is the draw phase. You draw 5 cards from your house deck. So you go to your house deck. If it's not yet depleted, you take your house deck and you draw 5 cards. So let me show you. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4 for my hand. There is one missing. That means that I will take my discard pile, shuffle it, make a new house deck, and draw the remaining cards to make up for the 5 cards. And then this will be my hand. So I know what, okay, this is very basic, but this is going to be my hand for the next round to play. So this is the end of the draw phase. And when you're done, then it's your opponent's turn, and they're going to have a chance to start their turn with the same 4 phases. This will go back and forth until the victory condition is met, which is again having all 3 of your own cities being destroyed, then you lose the game. Having all 3 of your opponent's cities being destroyed, then you win the game. And this is how you play Volfyirion Guilds. Yeah, last thing I want to mention is that the game comes with a revisited solo game, which means they can find also on their website a lot of things. But just to give you a quick insight on these 2 cards that are in this prototype, you can fight with this, let's say, AI, where there are different changes on your player's turn, and this is how the different AIs work depending on the color banners, and this is a very interesting take on the solo as well. So there you have it. This is Volfyirion Guilds. Great new additions to the core game and a new gameplay for us to discover. So there you have it. This is Volfyirion Guilds. For me, Volfyirion was already a great deck builder for 2 players, exceptionally well done for 2 players. You can play it up to 4, I believe, with combining 2 boxes, but exceptionally well done for 2 players because it has an intense back and forth into trying to demolish your opponent's cities, trying to destroy them, and putting pressure on your opponent by moving the Volfyirion mini or Volfyirion token in the basic pledge in front of one of your opponent's cities. And if they don't react on that, if they don't have prepared enough to be able to react on that, then one of their cities is going to be destroyed from the wrath of the creature, of the monster, of the dragon. And the same goes with you as well. You have to be able to be in a position to defend always with and predict such movements from the opponent, because having Volfyirion at your gates in one of your cities is a really stress, I can tell you, and you need to be prepared in order to defend and send the creature back. The deck building aspect of the game is tremendously well done. It has simple rules, but it has all these cool features like the main ability, the secondary ability. You have essentially 3 different resources that you can drain from and create a pool for you to buy things. You have the knowledge points, you have the battle points, and you have the command points, and you need to use all of them wisely in order to acquire more cards and make your deck stronger, in order to acquire wonder cards from Volfyrion's Lair, in order to also give you ongoing abilities and create possibilities for you and much more enhanced turns down the road with more boosted game play, because you'll have the abilities of the wonder cards, and also to equip sufficiently your cities with troop cards and building cards to give you more abilities and defend value, because I'm telling you, having a city with no troop is a tremendous opportunity for your opponent to really strike down, because then they only have to acquire battle points as the total of your defense of your city. But if you have a troop, they need to first attack the total sum of your troop and the city, and then try to do it soon after that in one of the next turns, if not the same, to try to again attack the city on its own while it's undefended in order to bring it down. And you can do this 3 times. But what is tremendously well crafted in this game, it has a catch-up mechanism for the opponent. So if you're battering your opponent and they're getting either city destroyed one after the other, probably, or at least they're going to, to start, their morale is going to start coming down. So the game has created this catch-up mechanism, which of course stands the same for you if you're having your cities broken down. Your guild card, your Volt guild card, offers you 3 abilities. You're going to get the basic one to store 1 command card. You have a second one once one of your cities is destroyed, so you become stronger because you have flexibility in the ratio of converting command points to battle points, etc. And knowledge points. And the third one, which activates once 2 of your cities have been destroyed and you're just having your final stand with one of your cities, you also have some basic income as well added to your pool. So you see, as you get beaten and your cities are getting destroyed, you get stronger in a sense. I mean, the game offers you some help so that you can fight back, and the same goes for the opponent. And the fact that you can save one of the cards on the Volfyirion, on the guild Volt card, that means that you can save it there so that you can decide to draw it on one of your future turns in order to be able to combine it with a card that you have picked and it's now in your hand when you draw it, or it could be in one of your future turns, and then together you can have this blasting effect of moving Volfyirion or attacking your opponent and making some great combos. So this is a great mechanic as well. Together with the agents, which is a new addition to the Volfyirion card system, where it actually can go and let's say try to buy or acquire a card from the assets deck without paying the command points, as long as it stands and your opponent does not try to defeat them before the next turn. That's another tricky thing to be able to master, and you need to master, because if you see your opponent going for a very nice card with one of their agents, if you don't react and if you don't spend your battle points in order to attack the agent and bring it back to the discard pile of your opponent, then on the next turn they will acquire this card with no command points, and they can use their command point to get something else. So you see, it's a very tense back and forth. I see it like a war dance, like a very intense back and forth, which actually is very satisfying, and together with the great mechanics of the deck building genre that are implemented really well here, they offer a great gaming experience. So Volfyirion card game is a great game on its own. Having Volfyirion Guild new mechanics and new additions are a tremendous plus to the genre. I think that I'm never going to skip Volfyirion Guilds now, meaning that knowing the new mechanics that they offer so much, I will always choose to add at least some of the cards of Volfyirion Guilds or the main mechanics with the Volfyirion itself. And all the goodness that comes into the new big box with the playmats and the gorgeous art. I mean, I have said it before, this company really combines great production value and great visual aesthetic looks with great gameplay and strategic ideas and very cool mechanics as well. So there you have it. This is Volfyirion Guilds, a great addition to the Volfyirion genre, a great addition to the Mystia universe overall, but I think this is one of the definitive fast-paced, intense and strategic and deep deck builders that you can play in a nutshell in just 30 minutes or 20 or 30 minutes. So make sure that you're going to check their Kickstarter video and their Kickstarter campaign. I'm going to include the link at the description below so that you can easily navigate, and as always check their campaign and check the game, because I think this is one that really most of us should not miss out from our library as well. So there you have it. This is Volfyirion Guilds preview video. Hope you enjoyed it.